Giving thanks for yet another day, another morning, another opportunity to live and be and love in higher octaves, as well as to serve. Giving thanks for this great medicine wheel of which we stand in the center of our own medicine wheel. These 4 directions, these 6 directions, these 7 directions that holds us. These 3 pathways of the heart seed. The pathway between east and west, west and east, the pathway of our rising sun and our setting sun, our rising moon and setting moon, our planetary solar system families, Venus sitting in the morning sky just before the sun rises, the zodiac, and giving thanks to this day, this night, this masculine principle, this feminine principle, as fires in the waters. Giving thanks to the pathway between south and north, north and south, that place from which we come from, all inherited stories in the south, the place of the inner child, moving forward into the north, the place of future calling, the place we've never been before, the place of the elder, and this story unfolding, reweaving, being told and retold, being mended, being celebrated. This you. Giving thanks for the pathway between above and below, below and above, the pathway of your human tree, pathway where we grow our roots deep into the earth mother, where we celebrate our bodies and our blood and our bones and these ancestors, where we find a safe space deep inside of the hollow of the earth, where we can go deep, deep, deep within our body being, this incarnation, and moving up high into the sky, into the stars, reaching out the shoots of our tree, and just connecting into the star seeds that you relate with, that you've heard of, that you know so well, and just feeling the ones that you are connecting into, or the one that you are connecting into in this moment. The higher self, the very ancient and older self, the family that resides there, the wisdom that comes from there, the gentleness, the guidance, the light. And then bringing this and cycling it through the roots back to the shoots. And so giving information, spreading information about the fact. And meeting all 3 of these pathways together at the heart. And here at the heart, just taking a moment to give yourself a gentle rub over your heart, or give yourself a little hug, and just holding and embracing yourself. And just settling into you, your gentleness in this moment, softening, relaxing, and just giving thanks for all that you are, all that you hold, all that you transmute, your chrysalis and your wings, your creepy crawly little feet, your expansion and contractions, your in-breaths and your out-breaths. Giving thanks to you. Giving thanks to all our relations, those high mountain stone people that is closest to where you reside right now. If you know their name, recall it in your heart and just see this magnificence in front of you. When last have you made a little visit, listen to this stone person's stories, his high mountain stories? And just giving thanks for the wisdom keeping, the record holding of Earth. Giving thanks to the four elements, the element of Earth, residing at the terrestrial womb, ascending with the element of fire, the masculine right-hand path, deeper ascension into the celestial womb, element of air, and descending with the waters of the feminine left-hand path back into Earth, the dragon and the dove, above and below, the ascension and descension. And here at the center of the navel, we find the fifth element of ether, the portal of all life and all death, all joy and all sorrow, the rainbow portal kept by the rainbow serpent, the rainbow bridge. And just giving deep thanks for this biomagic, this that's naturally available to us here in this on this beautiful Mother Gaia with Grandfather Sun and Grandmother Moon. This magnificent dance that we are a part of, as above, so below. Thanking all of the four-leggeds, those that walk with us a lifetime and those that weave in and out of our path. And just taking a moment to see if there is a four-legged coming up for you in this moment. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to the plant people, those that bring so much beauty and nourishment and medicine into our life. And just seeing if there is a plant person coming up for you. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to the creepy crawlies, those that bring so much dimension into our life. Those that work within community and those that are solitary warriors. And just taking a moment to see if there's a creepy crawly coming up for you. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to the winged ones, those that write songs in the sky and teaches us how to fly and watch with an eagle's eye. And seeing if there is a winged one coming up for you in this moment. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to the storytelling realms, the mythical realms, the fairy folk and tale, the breadcrumb trail to the Holy Grail, 13 stories of the 13 original clan mothers, La Loba, the wolf woman, and any other stories that you might be working with, even your personal myth, and giving thanks. Giving thanks to the ancestors of blood and of spirit, of earth and of stars, for the lessons and the guidance, those ones that you're working with closely. Giving thanks to them and seeing if there is an ancestor that's coming up for you. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to the two-leggeds, those hearts and eyes and hands that we get to meet on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, yearly. And seeing the friends and family and colleagues, as well as worthy opponents. And just seeing if there is a two-legged that's coming up for you. And giving thanks. Giving thanks to this sister circle, for the women here, for this journey together, for this container that we create together, for the coming together and the living outside, the listening to the stories, the weaving of the stories, and coming back and sharing. Just like an in-breath and an out-breath. Blessed be, wishing well, aho, aha, danaho. Welcome, beautiful, beautiful friends. Welcome back after a long, long December holiday. And we're here now. So we can do some check-ins, just like a 1 minute check-in, just to check in to see how we are in this moment. And then we can go a little bit into the deeper sharing. So for myself in this moment, I'm feeling kind of all the feels, I guess. But at the center and the core of it all, very content and proud and happy with how things are unfolding, with um, the way that my mind works, my heart works, through all the challenges, just returning and staying in the center of myself, allowing all the feels to be within and without, and just celebrating this beautiful summer season, this greenness that Hogsback has to offer, the waters, because it's raining season here, and just family and friends and birds and sunshine and beautiful wildflowers and butterflies and um, yeah, just simply being in all of it. River, how are you in this moment?
I am happy to be here. I'm feeling kind of anxious. This Clan Mother month has been interesting and it's brought up lots of like little synchronicities, and I know we'll share later. So I'm very aware that I have things to face and things to come clear about. Yeah, but in general, I'm grateful and I'm feeling like I'm really moving with gentleness and kindness and with peacefulness, and I'm following my feet and my heart a lot of the time. And then that feels aligned. I guess it's the balance of like living in a urban place and having all kinds of busyness and things to take care of. I'm very much in the home at the moment. Like I'm making a spring cleaning, even though it's not spring, like some kind of autumnal clearing out with the changing of the seasons. Yeah, and I suppose the same is happening inside. Yeah.
It's good to have you here. Thank you for being here, River. Natalie, how are you in this moment?
um, I'm good. I'm just really grateful and appreciative of lots of things. This month, as you said, with the family has been a bit topsy-turvy. Like it's been a mix of everything. And for me, it's, I don't know, there's like a whole heap of a mix between being grateful, but then also there's like there's been a real struggle with me on integrity. I guess the word integrity has been really the part here, and so just trying to keeping my center, and as well as not admonishing myself when I don't keep my integrity. That that dishonesty is sometimes a default factor of mine, that I'm not always honest with myself or with others. And so while there's confusion into wanting to be better, and that it's still part of like accepting and just being grateful for the progress that I've made today. Thanks.
I'm grateful that you're here and I look forward to the deeper sharing. Thank you for being here, Natalie. Chelsea, are you with us? I see that you're popping in and out. Would you like to share how you are in this moment? Okay. Hi, Ali. Very welcome. We just
Sorry I'm late.
no problem at all. We had our opening prayer, and we're just doing our little check-ins, and then we'll go into a deeper sharing. I'm recording, so you can access the opening prayer and the recording if you want to re-listen to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Meryl, how are you in this moment?
Good morning. It's really lovely to be able to just be here with everybody. So I'm healing. I'm sitting, this last month has been very much me and my physical pain body, mental pain body, and emotional pain body. Pain is a big theme at the moment. You will hear I won't be able to talk much because I just go into crazy coughing things and physical nonsenses. But I'm healing. And yeah, lots come up for me this month. It's been painful. But it's been good to sit with that pain because I can see where it is and it's happening. I just asked someone to bring me some tissues because I can feel that this is going to be a big one. But yeah, it's actually been 2 months, but I've also been blessed with beautiful ceremony as well, which is interesting because for the life of me, I cannot find my earth medicine book. I mean, it's just gone, which is interesting when I looked for it. I had it a couple of days ago. Now it's gone. But I think that's where I'm at. I'm healing.
I'm glad you're here, and may your healing go well, may your cough disappear. I also have a little cough still remaining from something that I picked up in the garden route, but I'm much better. So it looks like you've got antlers. Oh, you do. It's beautiful. Thank you for being here, Meryl. Ali, how are you in this moment? Is it snowing?
It's very windy. So we are forecast 70-mile-an-hour winds today, later. It's been like this over Christmas and New Year quite a lot. So but it has recently been very clear, and the stars have been there, and that's been great. But the wind has returned. I can't remember what direction. I think it is northwest. It's interesting after reading Ways the Truth about the winds. So I'm good. Mel, yes, that's interesting. Sorry, I've been not able to join on time. It's just it's because it's a Saturday night, the night before, and then getting up at 6:30. I just really struggle with that. So, but I look forward to hearing more around the circle when we do a deeper sharing. But generally, I'm good. Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Ali, you're so sweet, and you never have to apologize for being late because I know that it's very, very early for you, and I appreciate that you being here. And I know the snooze button very well. So it's okay to snooze in a little bit and join when you're ready. It's all good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's go into our deeper sharing. So I'll read a little bit that piece for Ways the Truth, and then I should actually just find that piece that I've written as well. Just give me 1 minute, maybe not even. I'm gonna find it on my phone, I think. So, where's the truth? Is the clamor of the third moon cycle, as we know. And she is the keeper of equality and the guardian of justice. The fair judge of divine law and the destroyer of deception. The mother of truth and the protectress of the underdog. And the mother of self-determination and responsibility. She teaches us how to find the ability to respond and how to be self-determined, how to feed the positive and not the negative by using divine law, how to use equality with justice, being accountable for our actions and words, how to use personal integrity, ethics, and values to find healing solutions, how to accept the truth. Yeah, just those key words I'm sure is bringing up a lot for us. It's a pity that Chelsea can't seem to stay connected. I'm sorry, Chelsea. I also have the little written piece, but I'm gonna read that a bit later. Chelsea, are you here? Are you with us? Can you hear me? Doesn't look like it. Okay. River, would you like to start our deeper sharing into Where's the Truth?
I can. A part of me is saying maybe not, but I don't know if I'll ever be quite ready. um, yeah, it's been a very interesting moon for me. I'm feeling quite tender. I've just started my bleed, like on Friday, which is nice. Yeah, I guess this thing of truth is comes with a lot of baggage and all sorts of things for me. One of the things I remembered was that what a high price, whatever, it was placed on truth as a child when I was growing up, and to what extent I had to hide my truth, I guess, to be acceptable to my family and to not be punished or yeah, not to be afraid of not being accepted or loved or anything, and to what extent that's put a lot of parts of me into hiding. Like I remember that I was forever getting hidings for not telling the truth. And there were many reasons for lying, like knowing that whatever my truth wasn't, I mean, I'd get the same fucking punishment probably. And so there was like this kind of rebellious and wanting to survive part of my nature that got really good at wearing a mask And once I had my children, it was quite easy to put down those layers, and I felt like I was my own person. It really felt like some kind of an initiation of giving birth and suddenly being like, actually, now I can raise these beings like really the way I want to. And even that was a process, you know. And then with my children, I actually in all my relationships subsequently, like I've placed such a high value on truth, and like rather asking people to be honest, and kind of like moderating my reactivity to hear things that are sometimes really hard or really painful. And I felt like I was very much in this space of being honest and truthful until this last month. And suddenly I was seeing like places where I wasn't being honest and truthful with myself about the kind of like person and lover and connecting with others person I want to be. And also realizing all the places in my life where it still isn't safe or acceptable to be completely in my truth, where it's not understood or valued, or where I feel really misunderstood a lot. And that resulted in me saying fuck it and having some very, very like incredible connections with other people in really loving capacities. And feeling like the freedom of that. But at the same time, I also have still a person, like a partner in my life, who doesn't accept these parts of me. And so that's something I need to navigate, like and I know it's not a case of renegotiating this relationship. It's a case of walking away and just being like, I'd rather have these sporadic and spontaneous loving interactions with people who are not strangers or one-night interactions, but who are also not life partners because of circumstances. And I guess now I'm getting more, I guess mostly location. Yeah, so it's been a very powerful month, and I've come across a book that I'm busy working through that asks you 3 questions, and the questions are, who am I? And discovering, and I think this is a fucking valuable question to ask all the time, because we are just like nature and the external environments, we really are changing all the time. I mean, some mornings I wake up and I'm like, who is this person waking up? And what does she want today? Or now? And sometimes it's a very surprising answer. And one way for figuring out who you're not is by looking at what you're not. And realizing that some of the things I'm told about myself really aren't true. So like also realizing where I'm feeling misunderstood. And then the other 2 questions are based on reality and love, like what is reality and what is love? And you find out by looking at what is not love and what is not reality. And I'm realizing how much courage and like resolve it takes to be honest and truthful all the time. It's like really hard work. And it's so strange because when it comes to myself or other adults, it feels different, you know, like with my kids, fuck, I do want to know what they're feeling and what they're going through, even if it's really hard stuff to hear. And even though I know that like I can't change their experience per se by anything I say or do, really, because if a child is feeling depressed or super anxious or suicidal, like they're just having this experience, and there's, other than being with them, you know, I cannot change their experience of the world. But with my kids, I'm so sure, like I'd rather have that knowing than not. And I guess there's a different love there. So many different kinds of love, but like really unconditional, like whatever you tell me is fine. I'm not gonna love you more or less. It's just it's already complete. Yeah, and then in terms of the story, I very strongly relate to, I think it's the raccoon family who are like the bandits running around in the forest, like ferreting food to the ones who need it, and then Mother Raccoon eventually like passes out from overcaring. And she has to like rest and recover so that she can have a better balance. So I'm very aware that my balance is not that balanced, and I am constantly aware of it, you know, like trying to build in spaces for me to have a break and to get away from the house and to do my own thing, to have my own experiences. I'm also at the same time aware of like the sacrifices I make by living where I live and staying in connection with the father of my children, like even in the same house. It's very often not easy, and feeling safe, and the difference is always very clear when he goes away on a field trip, and suddenly I'm so comfortable and so at ease, and it's like everybody just has like a big exhale. And still I make a very conscious choice to have this involvement so that he's present, and he, at least, even if he doesn't take it up, he at least has the opportunity. Like I'm not taking that away from him by putting us in a different city. And sometimes it just feels like a really big sacrifice. And then I really appreciated in the clan mother story the way she took so much time to see all the sides of you. I find when there's conflict or like disharmony, there's often like this kind of fixing pressure, like give me an answer, tell me what to do about my friend who's actually coming to my house and stealing my whiskey. Like it's like, how can we find a kind and a compassionate and like a beauty way to address this where everybody is in some way enriched and nobody actually feels punished, except on day one they do kind of like, oh my god, I can't speak for a whole year and I have to do all this stuff. But then by the end of it, it didn't feel like a punishment. It was such a valuable experience. And I think I really long for this kind of like slow justice, this quick fix world. I think does a lot more harm and a lot more damage. And I also found it interesting how, even though people were acting from places of wounds and suffering, they weren't kind of absolved of their crime because it came from this place. There was still like a right action that would help and benefit many others, that is also the person who had suffered loss. I think that I'm so tired, honestly, of like my stories, actually, of like trauma or various kinds of abuse and rape and carrying a child that I didn't want, you know, like all of these things are so, I'm so tired of these things, of just like, I just want to be free. and not carry this stuff into like relating and connection. Yeah, so I'm also working, I think a lot with my mind and my heart, and it feels to me like through this journey, I feel like things are becoming more aligned, which is feeling powerful and also fucking painful sometimes. But I'm grateful to do it through this container of like stories. I love stories. Even as an adult, if anyone pulled out a children's book, I would be like in the front row, rapture on my face. I just can't help it. And so I couldn't think of like a more beautiful way to be exploring these concepts and applying them. And I've become very aware of like the animal beings and the creatures. Like on the day of reading the crow piece, I had a crow fly overhead and like doing its crow thing, and I was like keeper of the heart space, and it was just really nice. I have a very strong urge to be more creative, like to do more like writing and poetry and art. And I've cleared spaces in my house to make it flow, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. So this is also a big part of who I am. And I don't know why I deny myself that like pleasure or that joy. Yeah, so that I think kind of feels like a natural ending place for my deeper share. Thank you for listening, for witnessing.
Thank you so much, River. I invite us all just to take a moment, just take a breath, just receive the sister sharing. So much wisdom, I'm sure, for all of us in there. Thank you so much. It's interesting, one of the things that's come up, another story that I'm working with for years now, continuously, it can't leave me alone, is the Inanna's descent and ascension. And as she ascends out of the gates, the gatekeeper keeps asking her every gate, who are you now after you've been through all of that? Who are you now after you've been through all of that? And it is a very important question to ask. So thank you for all the wisdom in your sharing. There's a lot that I relate with. Thank you. Very gracefully articulated. Thank you. Natalie, how has your moon been with Where's the Truth?
Hi, thank you. Namaskar. Thank you, River, for your share. And for Shanti for having this meeting and opening the circle for us. That was really beautiful. This month has been so busy because we've had, as you said, we've had the solstice, Christmas, family, holidays, and all of that. So lots and lots of activity. We do have a new family member here. If she'll come along and say hello, sometimes I get confused with my daughter, and I say my sister, and sometimes I call my daughter by my sister's name. My sister's Kerry and my daughter's Layla. And sometimes I call my daughter Kerry. So that's really interesting how I get those two personas are the same for me in some ways. That my sister is 10 years younger than me. So she was like my baby when she was very little. And so maybe I still have that. And family, Christmas with the family. And so I actually come from intergenerational alcoholism, trauma and abuse. There's generational alcoholism in my family, and I too have had the issue of alcoholism. And so I'm 4 years and 3 months sober now, but it's been quite it's an illness that's really taken and it's just been like a whole experience, and going into recovery using Alcoholics Anonymous and the program of the 12 steps is it's been really interesting, because the program focuses on that you need to focus on you. It's you need to change yourself. You can't change everyone else. And the first step is we are powerless over alcoholism, and where our lives became unmanageable, and learning about the powerlessness that we are over the addiction, but also the powerlessness that we are over everyone else, from people, places, and things, and that we can't change anyone else, and we can't accept. So like that whole acceptance of where you are and different parts. And that's quite, and so this morning was really interesting, because I was going, we're like thinking about Ways the Truth, and going, I need to recap on what it is about this month and things like that. And as I was flicking through and reading the story again and things, one of the things it says about her as the mother of truth is also, it teaches us about making amends in a compassionate way, in the right manner. And this morning I actually had one of my sponsees over, and we were doing step 8 and 9, which is making direct amends to others and taking recourse. And it was like, from that, when we were going through the list of people to make amends to, a lot of the things that she was saying about what she felt in her, the guilt and shame and the remorse that she had is it actually wasn't to the person. It wasn't to this other person that she was saying, I did this and this, but the harm, she didn't harm it. She actually didn't harm that person. The person she had harmed was herself, by creating the remorse and the guilt and the shame and not keeping to her own integrity. And so that was really interesting, how that, like, the lessons that from Ways the Truth were at play, even in that circumstance, in identifying with her and going, hey, Mel, no, like, yes, that was wrong, but you didn't harm the other person. The person you're harming was you. It was you. And so the amends actually need to be done to yourself, and the forgiveness we need to look at forgiving yourself for these things that you've done to actually harm your own being. And so the accepting of the truth and honoring that over Christmas as well is, as I said, my dad played bad Santa on Christmas Day. He thought he was really funny, but he was tanked, and then he did a striptease in front of little children, and he thought he was hilarious, right? It was really inappropriate. And I was just going, oh, okay. Just having to accept, he thinks that this is okay. He's having fun, and he thinks by making other people laugh. And so where is that coming from? And, everything really essentially comes from, like, when we look at, the parts that we call our shortcomings or character defects and things usually come from a fear basis, or for me, it's the unworthiness wound, and they can trigger what our defects for me. Mine can be dishonesty, manipulation is one for me, and what was the other one that we identified that it should? Yeah, so manipulation is a big one, and dishonesty for me is when I'm in fear, or I'm feeling that seeking love, someone else's approval, wanting other people to accept me, like me, love me, whatever. Then I'll be doing things to people please, which is manipulative, because I'm just trying to seek validation from the external sources, right? And so that's really interesting, just having a greater sense of awareness this month in how that's coming up. And so that, as you said at the before, it's coming up for me as well, that integrity part. I'm not really holding my integrity when I'm acting in this way. But then having to accept that sometimes that both those the colors, all the shades are in me, right? So rather than resist the fact that I'm being dishonest or manipulative in this way, is identify it, but also accept that maybe that whatever that woundedness where it's coming from is also part of me. And so, you know, as I get better at things in the awareness, is hopefully I can just create that space, a pause before I actually take an action. And so maybe if I can pause long enough, if I can hold that long enough, maybe I can choose a different way to be. Maybe I can choose, rather than being a people pleasing manner, maybe I could just wait a little longer and find a different avenue that does hold my integrity. A really good example of that was anytime people ask for help in like the community groups and things like that, they say, oh, there's a barbecue, we want to put on a fundraising barbecue, we need someone to come and set up or do the barbecue or something like that. And they ask the group of people and everyone's silent and hold their heads like that. And so I look around and I go, okay, I'll do it. Right. And so I get plugged into these things I don't really want to do, I don't really have time to do, but I'm doing it just because of these things. And then I have this resentment or anger that I'm doing something that I didn't really wanting to be doing. So if I had just paused a little longer, I might have given an opportunity for somebody else to have that. And when I do that, is then I just have to accept that that's what I've put myself in. And so now I have to, rather than suffer the event on dreading cooking the sausages or whatever it is for the day, is can I then just enjoy that time and be present for that moment? And so rather than getting angry that I'm there, is how do I change that? And so yeah, so just finding the I guess is the balance, and finding a way. My daughter's really good now in because I'm open with her about where I am with, as I said, the 12-step program and what we do and things like that. And so, and with my character defects and things like that, and I've made amends with my daughter and stuff. And so she calls me out, particularly when I'm manipulative. She actually says, oh, Mum, you're being manipulative right now. And I go, oh, okay, you're right. Let me take a break and we'll try again later. And so that's really helpful. That it's a bit annoying sometimes because she's quite clear about it. And that's interesting. What can I say about? I love the characters. As you said, the bandit, and also the lizard in that, or the alligator. It's just that whole digestion part is having to go in your waters and actually digest the situation, and that really plays into, for me, in that part, in the pause, rather than just react from there, or not being clear in what my option is on the response, is holding it, that maybe if I can just create the space, that maybe something will pop in that's a better solution that I first can come up with. And so yeah, they were interesting, the different. And I had called by the crow. I love the crow, and the creatures around. I've had the other day I woke up, we went out in the morning, and there were like five. Well, it was raining, and I had one kookaburra sitting near my washing line having a little bath, and then another one came down and was digging for worms in the garden. So I had two kookaburras. I went, oh, this is fantastic, because it's my favorite bird. And so there were two, and then the next day there were five. And so I've just been blessed with multiple, like the kookaburras like coming around my garden and serenading me at sunset, like when we're out like in the trees and all around. And so they're all talking to each other, and so that's been really beautiful. I've had a wasp. We talk about insects. There's a wasp that's been, when I was working from home, it was actually like knocking on the window at the time, trying to get in. and I was going, oh, not sure. I'll have to look up. I tried to look up I did look up the sacred medicine cards, but the wasp is not in there. So I'll have to find another option on that one. And yeah, it's just been really, the other thing here as well is with making amends is, and again, is learning how to make amends is that when you go to someone and you're going to make amends, and so we do the Ho'oponopono way, which is I'm sorry, and you say what you're sorry for. Forgive me. You ask for forgiveness. The person doesn't have to forgive you. That's okay. So what you're grateful for. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. But when we do that, or when I do that as well, or when anyone does it in there, is recognizing that whilst we humble ourselves, we don't go groveling and servitude in terms of, it's like, you still keep your dignity while doing it, whilst you're willing to admit that you've done wrong, and you're humble in that way. You don't degrade yourself, and you don't allow yourself to be degraded. So if you ask the person, is there anything else that I should be aware of? If they come back at you and they say yes, you listen, but you won't allow it to be abusive, or you won't allow yourself to be degraded or devalued in any way. And so just really, I think sometimes there's a real confusion in humility, what humility is. A lot of times people think humility is like really facing the dirt sort of thing, but that's not humility. Humility is, whilst it's lowering yourself to right size, it's to right size. And sometimes you're already in the dirt, and so you need to rise your actual self-esteem to become humble. Sometimes you're so low that for you to have humility is you actually have to have some self-esteem and self-belief in you, and so you need to rise to right size. And I think that's a really interesting thing as well. Like when Ways the Truth made the consequences and it wasn't a punishment, it was a consequence. It was done with humility, that she didn't make them into, whilst they were providing service, they weren't servitude in more of a, wasn't degrading. She allowed the women to keep her dignity while they were still performing service towards the community. So I think that's me today. Hope I made some sense.
It certainly did, and it seems like you went through quite the moon with Ways the Truth, as all of us. This coming together with all the different people, especially over the season, bringing up all the different feels for us, and really honoring your journey. Thank you for sharing your wisdoms. Yeah, with the Cloud Mothers, what they do is wasp spirits. Sometimes life stings. That's beautiful. What card deck is that from? A dear one. Beautiful. Thank you for getting that. Yeah, sure. Sometimes life stings. It's true. And this is kind of like the journey with the Cloud Mothers as well. It's also it has Inanna's descent at its core, because if we come to love's all things, she's the seventh Cloud Mother. She's the one who stands in the middle. If we're looking at it in a linear perspective, she goes into the deep waters, into the underworld. And there's also the speak of Wataji, which is Venus, which is Inanna, which is that morning, and they speak about the descension and the ascension, the morning star and the evening star, the disappearance of the star, and So this journey is like that. As we go inside the first 7 moons, it's kind of like the dissension. It just sometimes half of the readings are really pleasant to read, and half of the readings are really difficult to read. They're like really difficult, and it's this teachings of these grandmothers carry a perfect balance, and I just really honor these teachings with the crow medicine, and then with Ways the Truth. It always comes in wanting to honor Jamie Sams, the one who wrote down these oral traditions, and then Cece Laughing Crow and Bertha Broken Bow. They also names that we can sometimes tune into, feel into. Sometimes they're quite present. This Cece Laughing Crow and Bertha Broken Bow, and there's many different ways that these ancestors can come up, can show up. I feel very connected to Cece Laughing Crow for some reason. She comes up a lot for me. On the altar here, I've got a crow. I've actually got 2 crow wings. My other crow wing is on that altar there. And yeah, so this constant balance. Natalie, I thank you so much for your sharing. There's one thing that I want to bring up also about the image of Ways the Truth. When Bianca and I were discussing like how are we going to depict Ways the Truth as an art piece for the Oracle deck, it was very evident in the story. She has 2 regalias, 2 things that she's wearing. The first is just plain her and the white buckskins, and then she sits with that, and that's like kind of her kind of everyday like being. But when she passes the judgment on that final day, she adorns herself all in black, and she has like this black crow mask. So she definitely has these, and there's this. We also depicted her with the crow and the owl as 2 strong features on either side of her. And then obviously the alligator with this umbilical cord going down into the earth. It's very powerful imagery, and the more you return, the more you see, even with the readings, coming head to head with some of those very difficult readings year after year after year, but seeing the progress that's being made when you come face to face with some of those very difficult readings, and that willingness inside to work at it and let it align in such a way where it rests peacefully. Oh, you can't hear me. I wonder why. Okay, you can hear me now. I think my connection just dropped.
It's better now. Yeah.
But just the willingness to work with those daily readings. So every time you return to them, you can see the progress that's been made. Yeah. Okay, Meryl, would you like to go into a deeper sharing for Ways the Truth?
Wow.
Does anybody
Thank
need to
you.
take a little bathroom break? Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually been probably 6 weeks of processing, feeling. I loved our story, Clan Mother story. I relate a lot to animals. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I highlighted 1 or 2 parts of the story, which really is the simplicity of it all. And because we do not need to focus on what is weak or wrong, but rather what is strong and right. And that really landed because it's a reminder. And the other one is she realized every 2-legged carries the burden of being responsible for his or her own actions. And that's a big one for me, because judgment is something that I grew up with. I'm programmed to judge. And I've been working a lot on that, judging myself Am I good enough? Is this right? Is this wrong? Am I behaving in the correct way? Am I behaving in a way that's going to bring shame or embarrassment onto my family, onto my children, onto my parents? It's a big programming, that judgment. And yes, self-judgment is there, but it goes beyond that, like walking around basically and seeing somebody, for instance, in the shopping mall. I'm going to use the example with the mask on, and I found myself going, why? You know, it's a little thing, but that shows you that I'm still living in judgment. And yeah, it's something that I really love, not to be able to say to you, I don't have judgment, but the truth and reality is, in this human experience, I am. And that hurts me. So there's a deep learning in that. And that's possibly why this clan mother has been so resonant with me, but yet so difficult for me too. To the fact that I've actually now really can't find my book. I just went to look for it again, asked my partner to look for it. It is just disappeared. But what's interesting is, in human design, my law of my cross of incarnation is also she who weighs the truth, laws. So I've been working with this for a while now, and trying to really work the mantra, there's no right and wrong, there's only safety. Safety is really important to me. So that's really where I am with this clan mother and all her beautiful teachings, and letting go of the ego and knowing where the truth is. And it really came to a head for me, really knowing that I'm always delving deeper, looking for the teachers, looking for the learnings, reading. And in December at the solstice, I connected and had some deep learnings and some deep contemplations with a medicine woman, Bianca, and she threw the bones for me. I try and have my bones thrown by different medicine women between 6 and 8 months, because it's often for me a lovely journey to see where I'm at and where I need to work. And this one was just so off the beaten track, but so obvious and so pertinent, and it hit home, and it really affected me. But I didn't realize the effect it was having on me, because I saw it from a completely different perspective, because the bones showed that I was, before I could even present myself in my truth, in my own medicine magic, which we all have, and my medicine magic is calling strongly, that I had to make right relation with my own immediate family. And that's sometimes the most difficult family to make right relation with. And with my judgmental household that I grew up in, which hasn't changed, and difficult for me to show my own truth, because the fear of being judged is so big, so deep. And it showed that I needed to go and work and actually stay with my parents, my father particularly, work with the male ancestral line, which was interesting for me. And until I did that, and she actually said to me, the bones are showing you going through initiation, which, you know, until you really start going through it, which I started going through it pretty much afterwards, you don't quite understand what that means. Because you understand that for me, initiation was going through ceremony and, you know, having your face painted and doing all those kind of like ceremonial things that we read about, see our friends and family and sisters going through. But initiation is actually life experience too. And that's what she explained to me. And like within days of having this beautiful, meaningful reading, thinking I'm now going to have to make plans and somehow go and visit my family in Johannesburg and spend time with them and do some beautiful ceremony and just be in my truth. And that was really the message, is you can't change other people, but if you be in your truth, that vibration will come out. And I was working through that and understanding, and then out of absolutely nowhere, my ex-husband had a major traumatic incident, and my oldest son was at home with him, and we got the phone call. He doesn't live far from me. My youngest son is visiting from Europe, and he was with me at the time, and the phone call literally was, you better get here fast. Dad's out cold and there's blood everywhere. And he wasn't lying. So I went through that traumatic experience. My ex-husband is not one that thinks on the same lines as most of us, I would like to say our sisters are. And I thought this was going to be a nice opportunity for me. And it was, literally, I got there. I had to keep his eyes open so he didn't go into a deeper coma until the ambulance came, and he spent quite a few days in deep concussion. And that's a whole story on its own. But I was there, and my kids saw I was there for him, and he saw I was there for him. And it was really beautiful for me to be able to do that. After the effect, I didn't realize how it affected me so badly. It's good telling me there we go, my battery's dying, there you go. And I think the shock hit me when I was at Learning Plan. And on top of that, obviously my immunity was really down. And I went into 3 days of lying in the tent in deep pain, but extreme pain, that I didn't know what I was doing with myself. I had to get somebody to help me go to the bathroom. I would emerge a little bit and then go right back into this deep physical pain. I had a headache that I've never had before. It wasn't a normal kind of headache, but it was deep pain. It went into I almost got a lockjaw. I couldn't eat, just trying to get some electrolytes down. And the pain was deep, and I had flashbacks of the blood. I had flashbacks of and I felt my children's pain. Deep, deep, deep pain for my children. My children also carry this programming from ancestral lines. I didn't realize how deeply they were entwined in the programming from their dad's side, because I never really realized that the father of my children, as it is actually ancestral lines that I'm being called to work with. My children came to me through this man, and there's deep ancestral line healing there and starts very close to him. So it's with him. And I realized that the reading had nothing to do with my father or that. It actually had to do with my children. And when we're dealing with, when Anna realized actually the healing that I need to work with, and because they can't do it, they can do it, they just can't see that they can do it, is really, it's quite it's what she calls the burden of and not judging them for the choices they've made. They're my children in their 20s, the choices they've made, the choices that they continue to make, the choices, and the fact that they don't hear me, they don't see me, they see me and hear me, but they laugh it off as frou-frou. And I just have to accept that, just staying in who I am, staying in my truth, and not going back into that, okay, whatever you say, my darling, it's really hard, because I don't want to lose them. And I keep thinking, well, maybe, they're gonna disrespect me. They have before in the past, like, just moved away from me because I'm just like, Mom, you're just too much. Mom, you're just too crazy. Like the disrespect that I have because I haven't been vaccinated is huge, and I have to stay in my truth. And it's really, and I'm feeling that pain. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I actually came back from Learning Can and went to see my homeopath, who's also a kinesiologist, and she did a whole battery of lovely tests. And apparently I've got COVID, which is really interesting because I wouldn't have thought that. But yeah, the headache then subsided. Yeah, and right now my breathing is really poor. So I'm coughing a lot. There's nothing coming out but wheezing. No, not being able to do any physical activity. I've just been going into the ocean, and I'm loving my hair at the moment, ocean hair. So just going and lying in the ocean, and I feel strong, but physically I'm not well. So just working through that and having good sweats and all that kind of stuff, and taking all the beautiful remedies. And it was beautiful at Learning Clan how many people just came past my tent and said prayers. I've never felt so loved in my life. The prayers, and it was also great that I was there, because it meant my partner, who is very anxious about my health and wants to try and fix me all the time, I could just say to his friends, just take him away and look after him, and go, just so that I can do my healing, because I can't worry about him worrying about me. So it's been an interesting path. Following that extreme headache, I asked for a sign. I said, universe, just please, I need some sort of sign. I'm feeling a little lost. I haven't meditated for days. I've lost my book. I'm not doing anything. And when I was a child, I used to love playing with the chokos in the garden. I'm a choko person. I love the insects. I love the creepy crawlies. And a praying mantis literally jumped on me. And I knew immediately I had to go to our brothers at the Sand Village that was at Learning Clan's, beautiful group of people, Bushmen. And I took my praying mantis that was walking around. He went up and down my arms, up and down. And I spent about 2 hours with a brother there. And we connected a lot without words, but with words as well. Worm came in, and his daughter came in and started talking about her grandmother, which was just the most beautiful thing. And we just shared a beautiful moment. And then an insect came onto my hand, onto my finger, to this finger here, and it stayed there for quite a long time. Mantis moved up the tree, and Worm went into the fire area. And I looked at the shell of this beautiful insect, and it had the markings of mantis on it. And I said, Clinton, look, mantis is still with us. And he just started crying. And then he went into this whole blessing. I don't know what he was doing because I didn't understand the language. And he drew something on the ground, and he was saying, and then he took his hands full of mud and he just painted me all over. And he said to me that I was transitioning into between two worlds, and that's why I'm struggling. One of the most beautiful gifts I've ever received. I don't think I washed myself for a few days. But what's interesting, and I'm interested to see where this leads, is that frog came in straight away afterwards, to the point that I drove home all the way from Riviersonne to Cape Town on my own in a car. And when I got out the car, a frog jumped out. So the frog came home with me. And then this beautiful frog, I had to find a place in Cape Town to go put this frog, because it wouldn't have survived in the city where the home base I'm at. And then the frog came when I went back to Seabrook. The first night I said, oh my gosh, someone's trying to break into the little cottage that we live in. And there was this bang, 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 and looking, perimeter checks, no one's in the property. And then out of, don't know where, the most massive frog, bigger than my hand, jumped out. He was trying to get out. So he'd been sleeping in our cottage. I don't know for how long. So it's, yeah, just it's just so much beauty and so much joy, but coming from that place of pain. And yeah, this clan mother really has touched a lot for me. Intrigued to see where it goes. Yeah, a lot of what everybody else has said has also resonated. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for hearing me. It's so needed. This group sharing is so needed. Thank you.
Shoo, stacking at my heartstrings. Just taking a moment to just listen, receive silence. It's just the sharing. What a deep, deep journey, Meryl. Thank you for sharing your medicine, for sharing your healing, for sharing your pain, for sharing your depth, your story. Sending you so much love for this unfolding. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Your deep listening. Thank you. Yeah. Chelsea, are you in a place where you can share a little bit? We might be going over time. If anybody needs to leave, please do let me know. Or you can just put in the chat you need to go. That's fine. I don't know if Chelsea can speak. Okay, Chelsea, you're welcome to, while we have you here. Chelsea, are you unmuting? You just see, because she just said in the chat she can share. Okay, Chelsea, we'll give you a moment. Ali, I just hear my son calling. I just want to quickly check on him, and I'm going to take a bathroom break, and then I'll be back in 2 minutes, and then we'll go into Ali sharing.
I just wanted to say, Meryl, that's amazing. I loved your share. Let's just see what's Chelsea's. Yes, we can see your messages, Chelsea.
Okay, I'm sorry that you can't unmute yourself. I wonder what's happening. Just fiddle around with that little microphone. I'm sure you know how it works. You always do Zoom calls. Yeah. Okay, Ali, would you like to go into? I can't unmute you because when I can only say ask to unmute. What happens when I ask to unmute you? Maybe maybe what you can do is, if you can risk it, go out and come back in, because usually when you come in you are unmuted. Ach nee, Chelsea, sorry man. But are you on your phone? Okay, Meryl. Chelsea, are you on? Okay. So annoying. Oh, shame, Chelsea. Chelsea, see if you can go out and come back in. If you feel like your connection is stable enough. In the meantime, I'm going to let Ali do her sharing. Okay, Ali, you're welcome to share your movement. Where is the truth?
Yes, thank you. It's been an interesting month for sure, and very grateful for this group, and it's great to be here. And so much has happened, but I'll try and. I mean, basically, what's happened is I've been asked by Spirit to really go into what is my truth, and the natural law. Through the Christmas period, I followed the Holy Nights process, which was so beautiful, where you start on the 26th of December and you finish on the 6th of January. And it's like asking, to be shown your dreams in the night time. And then a friend of mine made a Bila for me, which is like a herbal pouch which you put under your pillow. And so I was asking for dreams. So I did some artwork all around that, and in that process of the Holy Nights, I was reading the story of Ways the Truth, and I did that process of blowing tobacco to the 4 directions, because there's been something that's been happening in my own life that I needed to really go down into the depths about, to find what the truth was, if you know what I mean. And I did that process, and it was so enlightening, and I was just so grateful, because I'm a person who really dithers around and can't quite choose, the right path sometimes, and really worries. I worry a lot about doing the right thing. And this process that was in that book was so helpful. And I think it was the owl and the crow that really spoke to me. I have a black bird on my altar. I'm not sure if it's a crow or not, but I still can't get it to whistle. Yeah, I've added water, but anyway. So that was helpful. Then I went to Switzerland, and I was part of a conference. So I was offering a workshop, and something happened there. A friend or a colleague, anyway, something happened with someone who was in the UK trying to get hold of me while I was working there, because we're setting up a project together. And she knew I was really busy. I wasn't checking my messages. You know, I was just so fully immersed in that experience in Switzerland. And anyway, we eventually spoke on the Sunday after the conference, and I realised that there was a bit of a power struggle going on there, and that actually she didn't have my best interests at heart, and she's also very, very sick, very ill. And so I've started doing the same process again regarding this dynamic between us, and it's just been really insightful. It's helped me to see things that I maybe wasn't seeing before, and it was calling me out on really speaking my truth and having the guts, basically, to stand in my power and really say how I felt. And I'm not that, I find that really hard. I find it hard because I want to keep the peace and I want to work together, but still there's this issue of needing to say your piece and needing to be heard, and having those boundaries around you. So being your own person, but still working with others, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So that's what's been coming up for me is, you know, even though you know, yeah, it's like, where are the boundaries? How do I work with other people and for the greater good of what Spirit wants me to do? But then also Spirit is asking me to like really speak my truth to that person. So that's where I am in the process. And I invited another couple of people over on Friday night, and we made a dispatcher together. It was really beautiful. We had cacao. And interestingly, just as I was about to put the dispatcher on the fire, a hornet just came out of nowhere. I have no idea. There's a nest somewhere. It came out just at that point of transition from when, you know, just before I put the offering on the fire. I don't know the meaning, what that means, but there was something about the person that I'd invited, who's another medicine carrier. There's something about, I wanted to invite her to do ceremony together because I felt like that would help us find a way of being allies in this area where we live. But then this hornet came out, and I'm like, what does that mean? But the ceremony was really good, and the prayers went up and everything. So it's kind of, I really love this moon, and she's kind of made me really think about, a bit like Natalie, you know, where am I not walking in complete integrity for myself, and that's not easy to face sometimes, you know, and I'm still with that process, essentially, but I'm really just so grateful for the depths of these grandmothers. I mean, I do feel feel them around, and I can sense it's a kind but firm approach with these grandmothers. So that I will have to go and speak to this person who I spoke to when I was in Switzerland, and she's invited me over to her house, and I don't want to go into her domain, but I don't know how to skillfully suggest that we work in a neutral space. So that's where I'm at. Thank you for listening. I hope that makes sense.
Perfectly. Gracefully. Thank you. Very clear. It's beautiful to hear from you. Perhaps you can invite her for a walk if her illness allows it, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you for that clarity and your sharing and your travels and your ceremony and your storytelling and your listening and the kind but firm grandmothers. It's definitely who they are. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Listening to all of you, the deep relation that I'm feeling, this part that we are, you know, this part that we are walking with integrity to the self. You know, as much as we are in control of our own minds or not, but you know, as the women that we are, you know, we know these places inside of ourselves, we know the path that we're walking. And then having these external influences from mothers, fathers, partners, friends, family, colleagues, worthy opponents. There is a reading somewhere where it speaks of, I don't know which grandmother, but there is a reading for the worthy opponent. You know, all of a sudden getting that external influence that you need to now weigh inside of yourself. And this is what Weighs the Truth has given me early on, is this internal weighing scale. And somebody shared about that part where we're listening to these external opinions, these external influences, and having, it was River who said it, and taking it inside and having to feel where that lands, how that lands. And it's painful. It's painful to have to, I think it was also Meryl who said, yeah, who was speaking about this truth and asking for the truth and being willing to listen to the truth, even if it's so painful, even if it's not our truth, but listening to that person's personal point of view, having that ability, listening to it, feeling the pain, which it does bring, and then saying, eventually coming, the quicker you can get to that place, the better, but eventually coming to that place and saying, it's not mine, it's not mine, this is my truth, this is who I am. Just because you're standing here in front of me doing these things doesn't mean I have to take it on. It's not for me. And it's interesting, I mean, also personally in a major life transition, I know that in today's day and age, we throwing well the term narcissism is, and narcissistic abuse is something that's really coming to the forefront, whether it's it's just something that's coming to the forefront very much inside of our collective consciousness, this term narcissism. And as I've been analyzing my 10 years that I've been in a narcissistic relationship, and it took me a long time to figure out what was happening. And it was really difficult because I was really invested fully into it and really devoted. And it was really difficult for me to continuously find out the truth of what the situation really is. And claiming back my power, slowly but surely, claiming back these pieces of myself, claiming, and it's continuing. It's still continuing. This thing is still happening. And as I am feeling more and more peace with this container, the safety that I'm creating for myself, the more I'm getting, I don't know if it's tested or what, but it feels like because it's my personal journey, I'm further evolved in my story than the other people involved in my story, like my mother and my father, for instance. So I'm already like a few steps ahead, but my mother and father my mother, especially in this moment, I love her so much. She feels like a ball and chain, and she feels like the gateway at the moment for this narcissistic influence to have power over me. And it's really difficult for me to see a part of my mother that I haven't seen, where she's choosing the narcissist over me. She's belittling me. It's really, really painful. It's so painful. But I'm also just allowing her to be her. And at the same time, putting up my boundaries, saying, Mama, it's not for me. This is not me. You can't expect this of me. And seeing her processes, and me just standing in my truth, and then seeing her softening, by not fighting her, but also not submitting to what it is that she wants for me, which is just absolutely impossible. I cannot do that. I cannot live for my mother and like the way that she would like to live. I cannot do that. And we've always, my family and I, over these last years, have had an amazing relationship. But for this layer to come up is really painful, and at the same time having to let it be, because we cannot let anybody else, as much as my mother wants me to be something that I'm not, I cannot ask her to be something that she is not. But by simply being in my truth, I can be me, and I can let it be, let it unfold. The less I subject my will onto the situation, the less I want to control the situation, the more divine, the more the great divine will is at play. And it's teaching me so much about, because I think I've said this before, this name Shanti that's been with me for 13 years is this path of peace, but it's kind of like you really have to know both sides of the coin. And it's really starting to land for me, that thing about the inner peace, because I've been saying this month, I've been longing to get away. I've created this beautiful house, this beautiful home, this beautiful garden. It's mine. I've bought it. But I want to get away, because this relationship that I'm in, the baby daddy, his influence is just fucking maddening. It's not allowing me to be at peace. I constantly have to put a boundary. And even if I'm holding that boundary as a gardener, because in the womb awakening, I've learned you get the berserker, you get the warrior, you get the guardian, and you get the gardener. These are the different layers of keeping boundaries. As a gardener, I still have to keep that boundary. I'm not at a gardener level, that's for sure. At the very least, at a guardian level. But I've been longing for this little home where I don't have to constantly keep a boundary. That must exist somewhere. And then a friend said to me, a wise person will say that inner peace comes from the inside. And I wanted to say, yes, but as much that is also bullshit, because it's also spiritual gaslighting, because sometimes that stuff fucking comes from the outside, and it keeps, like, But it also landed in me, I can regulate my response. I can regulate my response to these situations, and just be calm in myself, in my truth, just live it. I don't have to defend it. I can just be me. This is a long, long journey, a decade journey now for me with this specific relationship. And to see how it keeps being manipulated, to see how it's now infiltrated my very own mother, is like, it's crazy for me. So, but I'm feeling at peace inside my inner core. And I've met somebody on the mountain, a wonderful man. And yes, there's many things that, like maybe he's not super rich, which is what maybe a mother and a father would like for you. But his patience, his gentleness, and at the same time, his strong masculine figure that holds me, that doesn't push me away when I'm in any of my traumatic bodies or when I'm crying. He pulls me closer. He creates such a safe space for me to navigate this trauma that I'm only starting to realize now how it's affecting me, because I'm brave enough to choose relationship. I'm brave enough to say, I cannot do this by myself. If I continue to live by myself alone, I'll become hyper independent. All of these things all of these patterns inside of me will just be suppressed. But by having this safe relationship, I'm navigating through these things in a safe space, and it gets revealed, and I'm doing the same for him. It's for both of us, it feels like a new beginning, like never before. And it's so interesting to weigh the truth constantly in this scenario, because it's kind of like what my family is saying is, I've had my last chance. You've had your last chance now. So we're not going to trust you in your decisions, and you're on your own. And I'm like, okay, I accept that. That's fine. I accept it. It's my growing. This is me growing up now. And it's interesting. It's a bit like a drama, but I'm not feeding into that, because I'm also enjoying these beautiful walks that we're having, simply being. This simply beingness with this person is amazing. And what's lovely is, I've got a son, he's got a son, he's a single father. So this thing that's being created at the core, at the center, where we walk, it's so peaceful, it's so beautiful. And it baffles my mind how nobody can see that. Like, not the community that I live in, not my friends on the mountain. Nobody seems to be seeing this thing. And it's not that I want to prove it. It's just interesting. It's just interesting to I don't know what the words for it is yet, but it's just interesting to see when you finally find that path of true healing, and you're standing in your truth and you're doing your thing. It's like people are blind to it, and they're so caught up in their own little traumas, circles that they run in their minds, their own stories, that they're applying it now. They're applying those fears to you or to me. And I constantly have to keep that at bay, and have to trust, and believe at what it is that I'm creating at a core microbial, atomical level. Even if nobody can see it, I know, I can feel it, and I'm trusting in this whole process. The other thing that I want to say is this: it's this relationship keeping thing. At the core, the Clan Mothers teaches us how to relate. I just think that is like the core principle. And walking with the Clan Mothers for a long time, I've had ways the truth has come at these pinnacle points in relationships, of all kinds of relationships. and the resolve that comes, the resolution that comes eventually, even a year or 2 years after, with many different kinds of relationships. I've had sister relationships as well, women relationships as well, that hasn't been easy. But I remember it was unaware the truth. Like when I started the Clown Mother journey, that one of my best friends and I had a major fight, and we didn't speak for like 2 years. And then, like, on Ways the Truth, 2 years later, the moon was half, and we resolved it, and we're like back together now, like besties. And it's just so interesting what Ways the Truth brings up psychologically for us. It's like, yeah, no, I don't want to. It's kind of like tarot cards as well, you know. Chelsea is into the tarot, and I think why these teachings work so well is because it's storytelling, and it can relate to so many different parts of us, every person exactly where it needs to land. So I'm an ever in awe of these clown mothers, and my devotion to them definitely just continues to grow deeper and deeper. I thank you for listening to my part. It's very difficult to know exactly what parts to touch because, as you know, that our lives are so in depth. But these sharing circles just give us that space to voice, to hear our own voice, to hear what it is that's inside of us, and be witnessed, relate in all these different ways. If there's any final sharing, or if there's anything that somebody would like to share or say in this moment, you're very welcome. Yes.
But just after I shared, I suddenly remembered where my book was, so I found it.
It works like that.
I needed to share, and then so you had it, and I ran off and I found it.
I'm glad you found it. Thank you for your message also in the group chat. I knew it. I also, I have, my book looks like this. It doesn't even have a cover anymore. I've got 3 of these. They all look the same because like I'm constantly using them. I have like one in each room because they're just like, I even have one at my partner's house. I just have them like everywhere. But yeah, they're getting so hard to find. I see that the Clown Mother book at the moment isn't even on Loot because I wanted to buy myself another one. So I'm gonna have to make a plan. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Anyway, it's the wisdom keeping.
There's yeah. So Amazon, I'm able to get Clean Mothers via Amazon. Not sure if you guys have Amazon
Yes.
SA. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's been fairly easy to do. There's a doctor psychologist called Dr. Ramani, and she's just focuses on narcissism. I didn't understand what that was, and then one night, because I was insomniac because of the stress of that was happening as well, and there was like an ad, and it said had all these characteristics, like these things. Do you feel powerless, helpless? And things like that. Is this going on? And I watched this, and it identified, and I was totally found out about it. And like even things that she said, do you keep a journal? Do you diarize what your partner says to be able to understand like the mind mess up that happens? And I was doing that. I was journaling conversations and things because they were saying I did this and I did that and I said this and that, and I was going crazy. So it's really helpful if anyone is just Dr. Ramani, and she gives you a lot of things. So the 3-person thing is called a triad, and that's explains narcissistic characteristics and the different plots and the games that they play. And it's very helpful to educate yourself so you can really understand exactly what's going on, and also some tools in how to protect yourself around that sort of thing.
I'm on the Grey Rock now. I'm a boring.
Ah, very good. You're in it.
It's hard though because I'm not a boring grey rock. So so acting like a boring grey rock is very, very hard for me, and I've got lots of fire in me. So yeah, no, it's I've been educating myself deeply, 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 and I've got an amazing support network. So I'm really grateful, but it's still shocking. It's still sometimes there's that moment where you're like, what on earth is actually happening? And
Yeah.
my responses, and that's why I'm very grateful that I have a partner in my life right now who's able to hold that. He's very interesting, and he said that if he could be anything really, he would be an exorcist. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I like that. So he's thinking to my yang. Yeah.
That's really awesome that you've got that sort of relationship. I also wanted just to say in Ali about I get the when you're in that place and you have to go into someone else's space and it's unwanted. So I don't have, and we talk about making your first family the right relationship. So I have a very dysfunctional relationship with my mum. My mum's actually a narcissist, so having to accept her as she is. And at Christmas, I had to go, not on Christmas Day, 2 days later, my cousins were at my mum's house. And for me to see them, I had to go into my mum's space. And it's like walking into the den of the serpent or what it like really hard. And so I had to sit down the street from there and cry for about half an hour to 45 minutes to just allow myself the fear that I had in what was going to happen and how that was going to play out before I went in. And just having, for me, the notion of why I had to go in there, that I really valued having the time that I could have with my cousins to see them, because they were from interstate that were up here, they were staying at her place, to have that time with them, that I had to, in a way, humble myself to be able to be in that space, even though I didn't know what was going to happen. So, yeah.
Thank you. I would also like to ask about the boundaries. You mentioned Shanti, the gatekeeper and the gardener. I've never heard of that. Is there any? Could you share?
I'll have to have a look, because in 2018, I did the Womb Awakening apprenticeship with Seren and Azra Bertrand, and it was a 9-month. It was a 9-month journey, and each month we worked with specific themes. Like the first month was the total rebirth of the womb, and then you experienced your actual birth. You went somatic, or you went like into your actual birth and what it was like, and then you from where you were in the stars to how you came down the umbilical cord, why you chose your mother and father, what you experienced inside of the womb, how you go through the elements, the air, the water, the fire of the birthing, and then the earth of the incarnation. And then there's the rebirthing process that they take you through to heal those aspects that you rebirth yourself. And then there was like then there was 2 months of the 8 grail gates of the womb. There was, so somewhere within inside of that journey there was these ways that we keep boundaries, and it just landed for me they presented this concept of the berserker is like, obviously when you go like ape fucking shit about your boundary, which is sometimes necessary. It can be necessary, but the more you work with it, the less you really want to go there, obviously. And then there's the warrior, then there's the guardian, and then there's the gardener. just that concept in itself is something that you can write about, meditate on. I'll see if I can find some more information. I'll go through the modules.
Yeah, I do have that book. I have that book.
Yes, I did
It's
buy
an
the
amazing. I haven't actually read all of it, so it may be in there. I'll have a
Yes.
look.
What was nice about the apprenticeship is they gave us modules for each moon,
Okay.
because the apprenticeship was there before the book. So these
Right.
modules expand on so much. There's like a lot of somatic journeying, breath work stuff for each concept. There's questions that they ask you. I'll have a little bit of a look inside, but it's really,
Okay.
it really is a good book. They've
Yeah,
moved
thank
on
you.
now from the womb awakening they've stopped that work. And they've gone into what they call biomagic. So like just being children of earth and
Yeah.
more like yeah, it's children of earth. It's really beautiful. So it's a lot of the concepts are some of the things that I already understand, but they really go somatically very deep into earth magic, to biomagic, the natural magic that's available, which I think is really, really interesting. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
it's such a pleasure.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go, but
Yes, I think all of us. Thank
yeah.
you, everyone, for being here, for your sharing, for the depth, and for the going within, and now we can go without because we've went into that deep space. Much love and healing and love for each of you and your family and your loved ones, all of it. Thank you for being here. Deep, deep, deep love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.